I think I was having
It was 80. I think 81. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm just always
All right, listen up here. Yeah. All right, so for 15 and 19, make sure for 15 that it is compressed. That 2 for 15 says cosine of 2x is not the amplitude, so it doesn't stretch it. Okay, it compresses. So it should actually do 4 cycles, okay, from negative 2 pi to 2 pi. So for those first 3, you have to graph it over that entire interval, be it a half a cycle, be it 2 cycles, 3 cycles, it doesn't matter, okay? For the others, like 54 and 56, you just have to graph the 5 key points. 32, you should have the amplitude is 11 and the period is pi over 4. Phase shift is negative pi over 3 or left. All right, what I want you to do is for 45, I know you got that answer, but take a look at 46. In 45, the shape of 45 indicates it's a cosine function. The shape of 46 indicates it's a sine. If it's an S with a max and a min, that's got to be sine. If it just has either a max or one min, then it is going to be a cosine. All right, what's going to be the equation for 46? Okay, what is going on? Let me do something here. As you look, and it has to be sine. It has to be sine. Okay, or that. All right, what do you got, Warren?
Is it y equals 2 sine of 2x?
Say that again. Y equals
2 sine of 2x.
He's close. There's one thing missing because that would go up first and then come down. So we just got to throw a little negative in front of the 2, very first 2. So make it negative 2 sine of 2x. Make it negative 2 sine of 2x, okay? Because the first 2 stretches it, the second 2 compresses it. All right, flip it over to 48. Take a look at 48. I got to see if you guys are doing these or if you're just copying the answers from the back. I got to make sure you know what's going on. Right, Nathan?
That's right.
That's right. Okay. All right, take a look at that one. Now, what type of equation does it have to be? It has to be a cosine. Okay, so it has to be cosine in it. All right, Jacob, what do you got?
Would it be negative 2 times cosine of 3x?
Y equals negative 2 cosine of 3x would be correct. All right, now this can be a little bit more difficult because of the period. What is the period of 48? You see, so you got to take a look at the first point starts at 0 and the x coordinate is 0 and the last point is 2 pi over 3. So the period is 2 pi over 3. Now, how do you go backwards, though? How do you go backwards? What did we say earlier? That the period is always determined by 2 pi divided by b, where b is the number in front of that variable. Okay. So you can either say, all right, well, if I know it's 2 pi over 3, that has to be 3, or you could say, all right, I know the period is 2 pi over 3. And then you could set it equal to 2 pi over b, and you can figure out b that way. Okay, there's a couple different algebraic ways you can go about it, but you got to get 3 there. Okay, 2 pi over 3. All right, and then lastly, take a look at 50. What do you think the equation is going to be for 50? Right. What do you got?
Alright, I'm not sure if it's right, but y equals 2 sine 4x.
Why are you using sine? Okay, are you just kind of totally guessing on these?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Gotcha. Okay. All right, look at the graph. Look at the graph. If you see this figure, that's cosine. All right.
So we're gonna change that to cosine.
We're going to change that to cosine.
Yeah.
Good. If you see like the S, like a max and a min, make that sign. All right, cosine. So we're going to use cosine. Cole DeLuca, you agree with that?
Yeah.
You agree? All right, what else you got for me, Cole? What do you think?
I had 2 times cosine of 2x plus pi over 4.
Like that?
Or the x plus pi over 4 in parentheses.
Like that?
Yeah.
All right, and then you might want to do this as well, just to make sure it's all taken at cosine. All right, that'd be correct. The 2 stretches in front. What is the second 2? It changes the period. The period now becomes 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi, because it started at negative pi over 4 and went into positive 3 pi over 4. And then the x plus pi over 4 moves it which direction? Left. All right, so I need to make sure this makes sense.
Can you say how you got the period in?
Okay. Can you look at the graph and tell me what the period is? Do you know how to do that? I guess I'm asking that.
Not when it's moved.
Now when it's moved, all right, what is the x coordinate of the first point?
Negative pi over 4.
Okay. Negative pi over 4. What is the x coordinate of the last point?
3 pi over 4.
Okay. So it went from negative pi over 4 to 3 pi over 4. You can subtract. You would take the second point minus the first point, 3 pi over 4 minus negative pi over 4. But however you do it, you're going to get pi. Does that make sense that that's the period? All right, the period is pi. We learned when you were given the general form of the equation, y equals a cosine b x plus c plus d. We said the period was what? The period is 2 pi divided by what value? B, right? Well, I'm going backwards. I know the period is pi, so I can say p or pi equals 2 pi, has to be 2 pi divided by some number b. I don't know what that number is. You've done this enough that a lot of you are kind of already assuming it, but if you have a difficult one, you're going to have to do a little bit of work. So our period is pi, so I replace that with pi equals 2 pi over b. If I multiply both sides by b, I divide by pi, I get b equals 2. But a lot of you have figured out if the period reduces to pi, then that b value is 2. That's how you can go about algebraically to get that value. So anytime the period is shrunk in half, it means your b value is 2. So So good. I wanted to go through those to see if we knew what was going on. All right. Questions? All right, 54 and 56, you got to give me the points. You got to give me the points. Pi over 6, 0. 4 pi over 6, negative 3. 7 pi over 6, 0. 10 pi over 6, 3. And 13 pi over 6, 0. You got to give me those points. Now you can reduce, like 4 pi over 6 is 2 pi over 3. I don't care. I just kept it like that just because I'm adding, what am I adding? 3 pi over 6 every time. Okay? Just to make it easier for me. On your graph, you have to have an appropriate scale. Like if you have pi over 2 and you just kind of fudge them where they go, that's not good enough. You got to give me an appropriate scale that indicates where those points are. So in this case here, this is actually pi over 6 because then that's 2 pi over 6, 3, 4. And you only need to have those 5 points. So the way I had to capture it, I had to get a little bit extra. But that would be the case. So you need to list those points. You could have shrunken it and done it every pi over 3. That's fine. As long as you label your points correctly. All right, how do I get that first point? Let's see if we know what's going on there. How do you get that first point? Cole, Rhodes. Do you know how to figure this out? I know it's been a 3-day weekend and a snow day.
No, I don't remember.
Don't remember? Dang. Oh, rough. Aaron.
The transformation is to the right pi over 6, so it would start at pi over 6.
So normally sign, yes. Normally sign would start at 0, 0 and look like this. The first number in front, that's just going to either stretch it or reflect it. It's not going to affect where the starting point is to the left. This is going to affect it. So it's normally at 0, 0. It's now moved to the right, pi over 6. All right, how do I get this next value? Okay, I know we've talked about it. Doesn't mean it's sunk in yet. All right, Emily, do you remember how we get that?
No.
No? It's a long weekend. Nathan, you remember?
Yeah, to get the x coordinate.
Yeah, to get this
Oh,
next
yeah.
one.
Isn't that just you add the amplitude?
Ooh, no. You add something. Very
Yeah.
good. You add something. Peyton?
You add period over 4.
You take your period divided by 4, because this is always cut into 4 equal pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 5 points, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces. So we divide the period by 4. Sorry. Does the period change for this one? Nope. My period. So you take your period divided by 4. And the period was 2 pi divided by 4 equals pi over 2. So that's what we want to do. We want to add pi over 2 to each point. Okay, so I started at pi over 6, add pi over 2, add pi over 2, which is 3 pi over 6, same thing. All the way till I get to 13 pi over 6. Okay, that's always a tough part. You just got to remember, it's whatever the period is divided by 4, because I want 4 basically equal sections from the 0 to the min, to the 0 to the max, back to the 0. Okay, divides it into 4 equal pieces for that. And that period was not changed. All right, now here are the points for 56. Negative pi over 3, 3 halves. Negative pi over 12, 0. 2 pi over 12 or pi over 6. 5 pi over 12, 0, and then 8 pi over 12, 3 halves. So you got to be able to get those points. Okay, and listen, now what is your scale? I use negative pi over 12. If you want to go all the way out there, that's fine. Okay, you could have cut it in half to make it pi over 6. Okay, that would be another appropriate scale. If you got pi over 4, or if you got pi over 2 or pi, I can't take that as a scale. It's got to be something that makes sense with the points that you have. What is the period of this one? Since that's a 2, the period becomes 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. And now we cut that into fourths, so we add pi over 4, and that's how we go from one point to the other. Add pi over 4. That's how you get those x values, okay? All right, can I explain anything in more detail? How to get those points, how to graph them. And the 3/2 is just that number in front. That just makes it good. And then that's all you should have is like that from the max all the way down to the 0 to the min. It's cosine for that. All right, 59. All right, what points did you get for 59? Or did you get any points? Let's see here. Gavin, what do you got? You got any points back there?
I did it wrong.
Oh, did it wrong. Hey, Burns. Doesn't want to share.
Thank you.
Why not?
I didn't do it right either.
Maggie. Madison,
I didn't do it right, but I gave you my point.
give me your points.
I had pi over 4, 1/2,
Okay?
2 pi over 4, 1, 3 pi over 4, 1/2,
Okay?
pi 0,
All right.
5 pi over 4, 1/2.
Pi 0?
I don't know, apparently.
Okay. That makes sense. According to that. All right, let's see. What do I got here? I got negative pi over 4, 2. Ooh, I got negative pi over 8, 2.5. I moved it the other direction. Why did I do that? Okay, this equation, 1/2 sine 4x plus pi over 4 plus 2 does what? Moves it up 2. Okay, so that takes it, it's midline. The line that cuts in half is usually the x-axis. Now the midline is going to be 2. All right, move it left, negative pi over 4, and then the midline will be at 2. Take the period. 4 is this b value. 2 pi divided by 4 is pi over 2. That's the new period. Cut that into fourths. So you got to add pi over 8. So you should have negative pi over 4, 2, negative pi over 8, 2.5, 0, 2, pi over 8, 1.5, pi over 4, 2. All right, who had those? 1, 2, 3? 3-ish?
I moved down to instead of up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to claim, I knew what I was doing. I just made a dumb mistake. Okay. All right, Hess, is this making sense now? Sure?
It makes sense now.
Makes sense now? All right, Cole, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Tyler?
Nope.
Nope? I like a man of honest answer. Do you know how to get the first point?
It's the whatever the phase shift is.
Yeah, phase shift. So normally it starts at 0, 0. Since this is going left pi over 4, that's why I got a negative pi over 4. So good, phase shift. And since this is 0, this is sine, it normally starts at 0, 0. It goes left pi over 4, but we got to account for the plus 2. That's why that's a 2. Okay? On there. Now, you always take the new period, which means this makes one cycle. It takes pi over 2 to make a cycle. Normally it takes 2 pi to make a cycle. It's going to do it in pi over 2. And so we got to cut that into fourths to get our key points. So pi over 2 divided by 4 will give me pi over 8. And then we're just going to add pi over 8 each time to those values. And so really it's just going to kind of be split from negative pi over 4 to pi over 4. All right, I don't like to move ahead. What we're going to do is do some work today, to like some class work, just to give you some practice. Let me hand that out. And I will do one.
I added pi over 4
So do I.
Like my brother, like Graham, he's
Yeah, I remember
I feel like it's pretty good enough. I got it.
Like, no, it's not. I got a girlfriend, her kids are 7 and 8. So I was asking them about them. Half the time I couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah, they did it like the whole admissions process. Like, I started living in town and add those to like the this, which added that, and I was like, yeah. Like, when they added,
I've never got third and
how do you do it? Like, I don't know.
Hey, how are
You know, all you gotta do is just add like this.
What did we say? I wasn't.
Maybe it's, I don't know.
Like we talked about it. We said something about
There's so many weird words that I just don't know. I already did okay. I'm taking it. Yeah, I have to do it. Like, I forget it's like this year, because none of those words that we did on those were on the APA. Like, literally, well, just
Well, we can say that we did.
Businesses are.
Sign up for it, and you'll get plenty of advertising.
You don't ask them for money, you ask for an exchange for something.
Very well, I don't think we, yeah, I would say you want to. Yeah.
And it flips.
Yeah.
You can make it happen.
Hey, if you know what you're doing, just roll on. I'm gonna do number 2, and I'm gonna do number 6. So if you think you're still a little shaky, you can follow along. And then you can move on. But if you're good to go, don't let me stop you.
I get it.
Just down to -2.
Yeah,
I'm sorry on my paper. I did, I do not understand
What about pi?
I did that right. I'm like, what's too big? But that's
None of this makes sense to me. And
B is just 2 here, right? So it's equal to pi.
B is, I was like, that's great.
It's 2 pi over B, right?
Alright, hey, if you're moving, you need to be quiet for about 5 minutes so I can talk. Number 2, y equals 2 sine of a half x. This first 2 is going to change the amplitude. Now, I'm going to write on mine, I don't know if you want to, just because, to give me a reference, but sine, normal sine, from -2 pi to 2 pi, will look like that. Okay, 2 cycles, height of 1. Well, what does the 2 do? The 2 makes it stretch. What does the 1/2 do? Okay, it changes what? Make sure you understand what it changes. It changes the period. The period is now 2 pi divided by a half, which becomes 4 pi. So for this one, it stretches it. What's it gonna look like though from 0 to 2 pi? Okay. So if you would just think of it as half from 0 to 2 pi, then this whole thing would now be all the way stretched to 4 pi. What's going to show up between 0 and pi? Well, basically your x coordinates are going to double. So at pi over 2, that's going to double to pi, and at pi, it's going to double to 2 pi. So think about this. And since my maximum is now 2, this is all you're going to get. You're going to get this first piece right here. That first piece because it got stretched. And then I'm going to get this second piece over here. Now, let me try and get rid of some of this stuff. But that's what it's gonna look like. Because normally it takes from 0 to pi to do that first little piece, but now it's gonna get stretched to 0 to 2 pi. And then the same thing on the other side. All right, so then the stretching I think is a little bit more difficult, honestly, than the compressing. All right, because like I said, normally, and especially if you, let me stretch it up. Normally, this is what it's going to look like. But since I stretched it from 0, it makes a cycle to 4 pi. That's going to go all the way over for that. All right, now I'm going to skip 4 and 5. 4 and 5 both have periods of 2 pi. Okay, the period is not changed on those. I don't know if that makes it easier or harder. Adam?
Why is it that, like, at -2 pi, it starts going down?
At -2 pi?
Yeah, like it goes down.
Because
and down.
normally, there's your graph from -2 pi to 2 pi. Basically, this piece right here is what we have. It has now got stretched.
Oh.
So it would continue up from there, okay? And let's see, 4 and 5 both have 2 pi as their period, so I'm gonna skip those. Let's take a look at number 6, just because there's a little bit of, I don't know, I guess additional work to look at. So let's do that one together, if you feel the need. You need to list the 5 points. Okay, you need to give me, now none of these have a scale on the x-axis after number 3. You have to indicate the scale, because it could be different based upon how you did it. The 2 stretches it up, changes the amplitude. The 4 changes the period. So the period is now 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi over 2. And so now you can probably list your points underneath. I'm going to list them to the right just because it's a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to list the points to the right. Point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5. And now this is cosine, which starts at 1, goes down to -1, goes back up to 1. So that when I'm done, I should have that shape. That's all I need. One cycle. That shape, those 5 points. Now it usually starts at 0, 1. What's going to move it? We've tried to talk about this a couple times. The phase shift moves it. Which way is minus pi over 8 going to move? It's actually going to move it right pi over 8. So this is going to start at pi over 8. What's going to be the y coordinate though? What's going to be the y coordinate? It's usually 1, but now it's going to be where? 2, because of this 2 out in front. That changes the amplitude. So pi over 8, 2. All right, how do I get the next point? We got to take our period and divide it into 4s. What's our period? Our period is what?
Pi over 2.
Pi over 2, divide that by 4.
Pi over 8.
Pi over 8. So the period divided by 4 is pi over 2 divided by 4, which is pi over 8. So we want to add pi over 8. Well, that one isn't too bad because that just makes it 2 pi over 8. And what should be the y value there? It should just be back at 0, right? And then 3 pi over 8. And that's going to be a -2. And then 4 pi over 8. 0. And then 5 pi over 8. 2. If you want to reduce those when you're writing the points, that's absolutely fine. If you want to reduce them when you make your scale on your x-axis, that's fine. If you want to leave them, I'm not going to get too bent out of shape either way. Now, do you have enough room to fit that on there? What would be your scale? You can't put, don't put pi over 2. Pi over 2 makes no sense in this case. Okay, just make it what, pi over 8? Can you fit it on there if it's pi over 8? Should be able to. So pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8. So pi over 8, 2. 0, -2, 0, 2. Oh, I missed that one. Okay, and that's what it should look like. You gotta absolutely have to have those points. Okay, indicate where everything's happening. Okay, finish up, ask questions as needed. You can work with somebody, that's fine. Help each other out.
It's a fixed head one? Did you do it with degrees?
I think so. Came up to like 3-1, 3-1.
Okay, it's not signed, it should be tangent, right here.
But that's the
You're finding, these lines down here. Okay, or up here, so you're finding that line. What is that, 30?
32.75.
Okay, so you found that, so the sign.
I know it's like that.
I did the opposite of the hypotenuse of the
The hypotenuse is this one right here. What you really wanna do here is. Yeah. That. And now you have to go back. And that's gonna be the same height as 1400. That's gonna be the second. That may be tangent 72.9, 1400 of a watt. With doing the sign, actually, should put this down. Side, I know it's kind of hard to see. But make sure you do that one as the tangent. As well. And that's gonna be the opposite, 1400 over adjacent, which is that, and then you'll take X minus Y. Five minus.
Okay, that last one's actually.
It'll be all small. Yeah, make it. And then.